All right, so welcome everyone to the RovingHeights Bookclub. I know it's been a while that we had a book club discussion. So the book pick for this month is Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad. I'm sure that all of us have read it. I mean, it remains, hi, Michelle. It remains one of our top bestsellers every month, back to back, since November, I think, or since December. It has always been like our monthly bestseller. So while we're waiting for Damilare to join us, I want to welcome everyone. So we'll be having a Q&A session 30 minutes after the discussion. So if Damilare joins us, we'll have, I'll ask our questions and everything. Then 30 minutes after, the floor will be open for everyone to ask their own questions. So you can prepare your own questions now. Okay, so while we're waiting for Damilare, if we can talk about our favorite story in the book. I mean, you are free to unmute yourself, or maybe I'll call names and then you introduce yourself and tell us your favorite story in the book. So I'm going to start with Bukola. Bukola, can you hear me? Bukola? I think you're still muted. I can't hear you. Your mic is muted.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself and it was the camera I did instead. Yeah, I was shocked. I didn't think you were going to call me first. What did I like best? I read it in December, so I didn't reread it now. But I still remember the story. So I might not remember the name of the story, but I'll tell you what happened in the story and why I liked it. So for me, I think the one I liked best was it was the one about I've forgotten what it's called. The name was coming back to me now. Well, it's the one about the guy that was like, he was catfishing. No, the lady that was catfishing everyone, and she wasn't the one, and she was posing as someone else. You know the one I'm talking about. Sorry, I don't remember the title of the story. So
yes, the lady that was catfishing a celebrity.
Exactly, the lady that was catfishing a celebrity, but she wasn't as she wasn't as bold as she came out as, and he thought he was scamming everybody, he himself was scammed. So I think that's what I liked about that one. Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yes, that was actually a very interesting one. Then it thought that it was her friend that was the one.
Exactly, it was the friend that was behind it. But I think one of the things a theme that I saw running in a lot of them was the fact that the men were the ones that were supposed to be scamming people, but they ended up being scammed. So in all fairness, when I read it, the review I wrote, I actually said that I think the women in this book are even worse than the men.
That's actually a very interesting take. Oh my God, that's true. Okay, so Basit, can you unmute yourself and tell us your favorite story from the book?
Yeah, sorry, can you give me 5 minutes? I'm on the road. I will get to a place now.
All right, no problem. All right. Michelle, can you hear me?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, I'm in a bit of a noisy environment. I'm actually at the mechanic shop. Sorry. Okay, I have like two favorite stories. The first one would be, I can't remember the second. I think I read the book in January this year when I traveled. So the first one would be the one of the pastor and his wife.
Ah, okay.
Because I have so many questions for Damilare today because I feel that book, most of the stories in that book are like true life stories, like they are actually true life story. She just gave them fictional characters. She just sent a fiction book, but those books, most of the story in there are real. So to be the pastor and his wife, how the wife knew he was cheating on her, the things he was doing, they're saying about him on the media was true, but she just needs to portray like this pastor wife kind of vibe and everything to keep the ministry floating. And I think the second one, my second story will be the one of like the gay association of men that gets married to cover their faces And funny enough, I know that story is kind of true because I've heard that story over and over again. Like, we know it's true. It happens. So I think those are my two favorite stories from the book. Yes, those are my two favorite stories from the book. So I'm just waiting patiently for Damilare to just log in because she has a lot of answers to give to us today. I think, those are my two favorites.
I actually like the last story. The last story is called, I think it's called Beard Gang. The one about
yes, that bear gang. Oh yeah. Oh, I've really forgotten most of the story in that book, but those two stories really stand out to me. Bear gang. Those are the things that happen in Lagos now. Not Lagos life. It's fake life. We know.
All right. No. Thank you. Aminu, Rafiat, Aminu, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome. So
Thank
tell us
you.
your story from the book.
Okay, so I don't remember a lot. I don't remember the title, but the very first story, the one of the the plantain seller, the one that was on the street.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
His name is Kokop, I think.
Okay, yeah, that one really hit me. And then the pastor owned too. That was really funny. I really liked those.
Okay.
I mean, all the stories were amazing. It was like, I mean, she's actually a brilliant writer. She told the stories really, really well. And she hits all the points, if I put it that way. I really enjoyed the book. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I think she has this unique narrator's voice, like this unique writer's voice, especially with most of the stories that went with the you point of view. So
exactly. And she knew her audience so well.
Actually, she does, yes. All right, so let's move on to the next person.
Yeah, hello, can I come up now?
Yes. I was about to call you.
Oh, thank you. So I have only two favorite stories. And the first one is the guys from Isaleko.
Oh,
right.
I think that should be the second story.
Yeah, the second story, the Gogolo from Isaleko. And I actually think I know guys that can do like that. I know guys that can do like that. And I actually relate to that story, not personally, but I know people that have done that, people that have actually, moved from one girl or one lady to another, or even to the point of reverting religion for a religion.
Okay. I actually wrote something down about that story. Yeah, go on. I think the network cut you off. All right, so Damilare has joined us. Hello, Damilare, welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, so good to have you here, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we've been talking about our favorite stories from the book. Everyone has one or two things to say about one particular story, and it's been fun so far. So before we get started, do you mind reading us maybe half a page or a paragraph of your favorite story?
Hi guys, sorry, I don't know what's going on, but yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying if you don't mind reading us maybe half a page or a paragraph from your favorite story in the book.
I don't have a favorite story. I like all the stories. So I can just read something for you. Why don't you just pick one and then I'll just read the one that you want me to read.
Okay, so I think I'll pick first time. Yeah, so everything of first time.
Oh, okay. I like that story for one reason. Sorry, hold on. I'm just going to my library. I like that particular story so I'm just going to tell you why I like that story. I wrote that story, interestingly, for someone I met 2 years ago who I was just very impressed with her person. So I met her at Amen Estate, interestingly, at I don't know if you know Amen Estate. So I took a liking to her. Amen Estate is very far. Anyway, I took a liking to her and then I started talking to her. And then, I'd heard a couple of things about her love life. We became really close, and I wrote this story because of her. Anyway, so I'd read the first times.
All
right. First times. You were 16 the first time you had sex. It was at a dingy motel in Bariga, manned by a receptionist with a dirty white shirt. The room was at the end of a corridor that reeked of weed. Inside, Idris grumbled. Can you imagine? These people, they don't have AC, only fan. I paid 5,000 naira for fan. You wondered why he was complaining about the money when you were the one who had given it to him before you got to the motel. It's okay, you said, but it wasn't. It was sweltering. The room felt damp and had a stale smell. Ancient cobwebs hung from the ceiling and old marks stained the sheets. When Idris took off your clothes and laid you on the bed, you felt your skin crawl. Idris, wait. What if they have bed bugs? He paused. He had kissed off all your lip gloss and his lips were shining with tiny sparkles. No, the owner changes the mattresses every 6 months. How do you know? Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. So I'm just going to start by saying that this book was a collection of short stories that I felt, and I'm sure it's not just me, but most people felt could actually, stand on their own to make a beautiful novella and everything. So I just want to ask, how was it when you were writing it? Were there stories that you felt particularly, should I say, attached to? That stories that were difficult for you to let go of, to sort of focus on another one? Were there characters that were sort of attached to you in a way?
So like I said, every story in this book, I have a personal attachment to them because I know these women, right? So a couple of them were a bit hard. So the first story, interestingly, that I wrote was international relations, but I stopped it. So I paused it and then I finished it when I'd written 10 more stories. I wrote international relations. That was the first story I wrote, actually. I wrote that in December. And I remember just thinking, I really liked the story. I liked where it was going. Took a completely different direction by the time I was done writing it. But I felt attached to that, but I wasn't attached to anyone as more than the others. Every story had a reason. There's no story in this book that doesn't have a personal attachment for me. So I didn't write any, I feel but the one that maybe I may have struggled with, I struggled a bit with I think Independence Day. I struggled a bit with Independence Day. Because it was, it's a story about rape, and I was, and even 4 other stories that didn't eventually make it into the collection. Those were a bit. So the thing with my first publisher was that I find that literature, because it's African literature, some people are not quite okay with some subjects that you tread on or you decide to speak on. So, and I understand that as well. So it was just Independence Day was a bit hard, not for me, but just wearing the shoes of those characters and just going through the motion. And I think first times, because I knew so after I met that woman and I felt like she was just this very interesting person, I knew the struggles she went through, because that's not how the story ended, by the way. That's me ending it the way I thought it ought to have ended. Anyway, so yeah.
Okay, actually, when I read Independence Day, I sort of felt this heaviness from the story, and it was one of the ones that actually stuck with me. because the first time I read this book was, I think, December last year, and then I had to read it again. But since then, it has always been, like, if I think about Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad, I think about that story. And then I think about, how that is like the story of most women, So, but anyway, when I'm going to talk about Oedipus, and I think this is actually one of the ones that actually made me laugh a lot, and it's the one that has my favorite dialogue with Uche's mother. So first of all, we have Jide, who is like falling for man because of his perfume, and then at the same time we have Uche's mother, who is like this very rich woman that is like sort of like controlling and everything, and Uche is like the mommy's boy kind of thing, So what can you tell us about that story?
That particular story, right? Oedipus complex. I wrote that for a relative in my family, by the way, and that story I knew about it when I was in my final year in school. When their relationship had gone on for a while, and then anyway. So the point is that particular story. Again, to be fair, this is not how it ended. But this is how I felt it ought to have ended. I thought she should have walked away. And not because, again, I hear people say to me, are you trying to say that when a relationship, women should work hard at something to make it work? Yes, absolutely. Work hard at whatever it is, work hard at your relationship, work hard at the things that matter. But when it's obvious that there's too much baggage, I think you should leave, because there will always be somebody else, But I also understand not everybody shares that sentiment with me, which is fine, because I'm not forcing that. So that was also fun. That was a lot of fun to write. But again, it was for a family member, someone I really, truly like. I used to be so, like, she was like my big sister. And I wanted her to so when she told me that story and I knew what had happened in the relationship, I think this was my own way of telling her, I'm sorry that happened to you, and I hope you feel better.
Yeah. I also love how empowering it is. Like, and Uche was not even helping matters, because Uche was not protecting her. Uche was gaslighting her, being like, oh, my mother is not like that, my mother is not like this. But while we are, seeing it and everything.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in my office now. That gaslighting situation is something I don't like. I don't like people that gaslight other people. I don't like it. So I like for you to take accountability for your actions. Don't gaslight people. Like, if I'm telling you, this is how I feel, if I'm telling you that I'm hurt by something, don't gaslight me. And if I tell you that something is happening, don't say because you love someone, now shield their bad behavior. Bad behavior is bad behavior, guys. Like, let's just say it as this, So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'll be dropping your questions in the chat box. We'll get to them in the next 15 minutes, because we don't have much time. So next on my list, because I actually made this little list of the stories that are stuck with me and the characters are stuck. And in Lover's Vendetta, actually that story was starting out very sweet, very nice, and I was enjoying it. We have a hardworking woman who is doing everything, and I'm like, okay, things are going to go well for her. And then something terrible like this happens, and the uncle, that was the most heartbreaking part. The uncle that was giving her a boat to drink, and I'm like, so you knew this was her reality, and you were making her go through all this pain. So that was actually one of my favorite stories, and it was I don't mind what already said, that she was going to cut off his dick when she sees him, because I feel like he deserves it. I feel like he really deserves it.
Yeah, that story is actually about an Uber driver that I met. I mean, she's still alive. I wrote that story in a day because I met her the morning of the ride. She told me about her marriage. And by the time I got to where I was going, I started writing that story. I think oftentimes, don't guys, just tell people what they're getting into. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me if I'm getting into a relationship with you and you don't, like, just put your cards on the table. Okay,
I think already was very understanding. If he was upfront with her, she's someone that would have been like, okay, we can adopt a baby, or look for alternative means and all of that.
Yeah.
And then coming to clear out her properties, God.
And the part is, so the Uber driver that told me about that, she said, for the longest period of time, he didn't understand that her anger was, why would you lie to me? Like, why did you think it was okay to? So of course I took creative liberties and all of that, also to protect the people in the story. But I think I just, I don't know. I even me, like, because now when I was writing the stories, I had to not be so attached. I had to tell it from a very objective view, because again, already the title seems like I'm bashing men. So it will be like ridiculous for you to open the book and everything you're saying is as boss. You're gonna be like, this girl is just angry. She don't like men. So I had to be careful with that.
Yeah. Okay, so next on my list is I Knew You, which was actually, I think, okay, before I go into that, I think one of my favorite things about this book is your voice, your voice across the stories. Those stories, they sound like you, but they don't sound like each other. That was one thing I found very, very interesting in them. So I Knew You was very heartbreaking and very painful. And I don't think people realize how much kids internalize when growing up, because he had a chance to have like sort of like better life, but because of what he thinks he knows, he sort of like denied himself all that opportunity. And maybe therapy will help and everything, but that particular story was not very interesting in the way that something that is a childhood trauma can manifest when you're an adult.
Yeah. So I Knew You, that story, I remember when I was writing it, I spent hours on the phone, defending my decisions to my editor. The reason why I wanted the story to go the way it was, so at a point I got upset and I was like, listen, I need you to understand that half of the stories I'm writing, I'm not trying to come from a place of this is, I'm trying to be subjective, or I'm like, this is the story. These are the characters. This is the part we're touring. I fought really hard for I Knew You. Which was, I always had to defend myself with my editor, which made it interesting for me to, I had to, now think, because what he would do is he would make me think about. So I Knew You was, I wrote, to be quite honest, it was inspired by a lot of people, a particularly public couple. I can't say their name, and the struggle that she had gone through to just get him to commit. Yeah. Do something, just show me that I matter to you. And a lot of girls do that in relationships. We tend to say, people, like, and not just girls, human beings, when you love someone more than they love you, or when it seems like you're bringing more to the table, you just want to be seen. And I thought, so when I first wrote the story, I wrote it from her perspective. So by the time I rewrote it, I had to write it from his perspective, because I now told my editor, I said, listen, you know what, I'm going to write it from the guy's perspective. Let me write it from the guy's perspective so that it's almost like I'm telling it from his angle, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I think we're going to look at the questions we have on the chat box so that we can attend to all of them before we run out of time.
Okay.
Yeah. So Abdul Basit is asking, what informed the choice of the title, please?
God. I mean, I've said this, like, God informed the title. I'm not joking. I'm a Christian, and I'm unapologetically a Christian. God informed the title. I was in my apartment. Then I was staying in Yaba. I was in my 1-bedroom apartment. I was in between filming. In fact, we had done Love is War with R&D, and so I was filming Love is War. I was filming Unbroken. I was in between projects, and we were on a break. And I was praying in my room, just like lying down on my bed praying. And I finished praying, and the Spirit of God said, "Why don't you do a title called Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad?" And I didn't know it was going to be a book. So I sent it to a producer's assistant, like an actor producer's assistant. And if they ever check their email, I sent this title to them like many years ago. I was like, listen, I have this title. Will you guys be interested in? Sorry guys, give me a second. Will you give me 1 minute? I just need to go get my charger.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so while we wait for Damilare to join, or you guys can keep dropping your questions, and she will answer them when she comes back. For me,
hey guys, I'm back. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So I prayed, and then God gave me the title. So I don't know how else to say that. God is the one that gave me the title.
It was really beautiful. Like the title was, it captured the essence of the book. At the same time, it was also very very catchy. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but I didn't imagine this was what he wanted to do. But so all glory to God, because let me tell you, I have nothing to do with the success of this book. Everything belongs to God. So apologies to those that don't believe in, I don't make apologies, I'm sorry. I'm done. I've answered the question.
Okay, so we have another question from Rafiat. The individuals you met that inspired your stories, are they aware? If yes, what were their reactions?
Yeah, everybody. So every single person that I wrote about, I know them personally. And let's not forget that they were the inspiration doesn't mean the story was particularly tailored. A lot of them, the story changed because I now took my own creative liberty and now wrote it the way I thought the story should have gone.
Mm.
Get what I'm saying? So it's like you share a story with me, then I now go and write it the way I thought the story should have gone. And that's what happens with me most times. So when I'm with my friends, or I have lunch or something, they're sharing a really juicy story with me. As they're telling it to me, in my mind, I'm like, so this is how I would have preferred that story to go. And that's just like how I.
Yeah, I think I saw something like that where they said that writers, even when you tell them something and when they bring it out, it's not entirely the same at all. Writers
it's not the same at all.
They reconfigure it and then they rewire it, and then you have a totally different story.
Yeah, like it's just, but so the thing is, for example, the person I wrote Cock Up about, like when she read the story, she just was like, "Thank you for finally starting to write." That was all she said. She was like, finally, because when I was younger, I used to tell I would tell people stories. Like maybe if I went out or something happened to me, I would narrate that story in such a way my mom would laugh. She'll be like, "I'm sure you're adding Jara." I'm like, "Yes, I'm putting pepper and thyme and all of that." So yeah, so the women are aware because I wouldn't obviously do that to them but half of the stories were changed. And of course, I wrote these things as love letters. So it wasn't like I was writing it, I wrote for them. Because I think women are amazing.
Yeah. When I read first time, I was not very happy with the decision of Evie choosing to marry the husband. I was like, why can't you just leave him? You know, from that very beginning, after having to fight because of man. So when she got married, I was like, okay, let's just continue. When will you learn? You know, I was just like, when will you learn? But it's also the reality of most people. They know they should leave, but at the same time, they're like, okay, maybe things will get better. You know, maybe with time, maybe hope or whatever. But I actually ended up liking the story. It grew on me, rather. The story grew on me. Okay. So we have a question from Bola. She's saying, how would you advise an upcoming author?
So I always say this, and I mean it with everything in me. I hope that by my third book, I will have a process down. that I can share. Because somebody was like, oh, girl, why would you want to share? I'm like, I don't understand. Knowledge is power. Like, if I have something I think you can find useful, why should I hold on to it if I can share it with you? So I'm hoping that by my third book, I can honestly say, so this is the process, so that if you're watching, you can learn from it, you know. But for now, I think what I would say to anybody that is writing is just write. Because you know what? Write. I don't care what people say. The book is not, the writing is not great enough. Just write. Write. Start writing. That's it.
Yeah. That's actually a very brilliant advice, because I think writing, just like I read in your acknowledgements where you said Chimamanda was telling you that you should take all the time you need to write your first.
Yeah, my mom took
that's not with you. And I hope that people that are watching this can be able to get the idea that it's just to write. I know there's a lot of anxiety and fear in writing a book, but most of it gets, broken down when you actually start doing the work. So another story that I want us to discuss briefly before I attend to the question is Beard Gang, which is, I think, in my circle of friends, for everyone that has read this book, they're like, okay, can we talk about this story? And I'm like, please, I don't want to talk about it. But it's the reality of most people in Nigeria. It's the reality of most people. But I think I love how the woman gave the guy the money. I was like, okay, after all these your years of doing this for pay, use this money and go and actually start something for yourself. The follower woman was very dramatic in all her in all her acting, in all her should I say performances or whatever.
I love that story. I fought very hard for that story to make that collection. I fought tooth and nail to ensure that story made the collection. Like, I was like, I'm sorry if you guys are uncomfortable, but this is what is going to go in the book. So like I said, there are 4 other stories I hope eventually I can, work on them, make them better, and then release them. Those ones I also felt they should have made the collection. But again, I'm not the publisher, so they made their decision to do that. But you see Beard Gang, from the title, I was like, I don't want to hear it. This book, this story is entering this collection. So yeah, so that's I love that story. I love it so much. I love it.
Yes, it's actually one of our favorites. Someone was talking about, I think Michelle was talking about it before you joined, how she could not, stop thinking about it and everything. So someone is asking, when is your next release? And then they covered their face like as if they're shy.
Guys, so don't pressure. It will come out when it comes out. It will come out eventually. When my next book will come out. I don't know when, because the pressure is hard. Like, I don't understand this pressure. If I post something, people are in my DM saying, it's for you to be working.
You don't feel like I felt go.
And then it's obvious to be spending your energy writing the next book. I'm like, wow, guys, wow. I'm doing my best. So when it comes, first of all, I'm immensely grateful for the reception for this book, and I'm very excited to see what you guys think of my next work. So it will come out when it comes out, and when it does, hopefully you people will even love it more than that. Milam, God willing, you embrace it a lot more than you embraced that, Milam.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to your next book, because I love your fluidity of words. It's as if they are massaging you. Like, it started and I think because my favorite point of view is the second person point of view. So the story starting with that point of view, I was like, okay, like, then the way you wrote, the way you narrated the story, it was unique, not like something I've read before. And then I was like, okay, so you have this unique narrator's voice. And I love how it came alive in the first story, in all the stories that had the second person point of view. Then the voice of Isale Eko, that one was very experimental in the writing. I think you did a fantastic job with that story.
Thank you. So I can't take, so Isale Eko was a lot of fun. I loved Isale Eko. And I would say this at this point, that Isale Eko and me and my editor, I think that was the first story that we were going, there wasn't any issue per se. We were just going, were exchanging. I would write, he would look at it and be like, okay, this is what you need to work on. Isaleko was, by the way, was a shade. I hope the person I shaded has read the book. If he hasn't, I hope he reads it. Because that was, in fact, they made me change the name. I was going to stick with the name. My publisher was like, listen, nobody's getting sued here. You need to change the name. But let me tell you, I hope that he has picked up the book and he reads it. And when he reads Isaleko, I hope that the words are tricking him. Period.
That was a very interesting one. So guys, you can drop your questions in the chat box and we'll get to them. Okay. Do you think some of the stories portrayed women as an issue too? And if I may use the word mad. Okay. That's a very interesting question.
Well, I'm in the words of Thames, the singer. She tweeted like 4 days ago, guys, I just want you all to know that we're all mad, you know? So, I mean, the truth of the matter is, I wasn't trying to blame anybody, honestly, and I still am not. Like, forget, okay, maybe in Isaleko, I'm blaming him, and I hope that was clear, but and I make no apologies for that because I think that person is not a good person. But I was lucky enough, again, like I said, because of my editor, I was lucky enough to remain object. I tell you, I rewrote some of those stories like 4 times. Because sometimes I'm like, girl, you are so angry. You are going to need to calm down. Like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, no, I'm not angry. I'm just feeling like, no, you're not supposed to justify, just right. So, yes, do I think some of the women have their own madness? I mean, like I said, Tim said, guys, we're all mad like us. So, there you go.
Okay, so someone is asking, would you like the book to be converted into a movie or a series? Maybe one of the stories can be worked on to develop the script, you know?
Yeah, so many things are so I would say, yes, hopefully that is what eventually becomes, you know, that's what happens, because I know. And the thing about, you know, books is you guys make me so nervous now because I'm now scared because I see like Bridgerton, God helps Shonda Rhimes. Yeah. I'm afraid because if you mistakenly don't do what you guys will come for me. Like, girl, you saw that and you let it come to TV, so I'm gonna try my and you know how we are. So I mean, like, let's stay positive. Obviously, everything good will come, and I'm very excited to see the future for the book, and also because I know a lot of women want to see this book come to life, simply because they feel like this finally gave them some sort of justification for what they've been through. Let's hope that God helps us to get that done.
Okay, I always tell people that when it comes to movie adaptations and books, I don't exactly expect the movie or the series to be exactly like the book, because the book is work in its most original form. So the book is how authentic as it can be. When it comes to movies, there are so many things at play. We have producers, we have directors, we have so many minds working to it. So it cannot exactly be the same, you know. But anyway, God willing. So we have some questions here. Someone is asking, are all men in Lagos truly mad?
Listen, I don't know how to answer that question. I said nearly. I didn't say all. So you are not to the right person because I said nearly. Nearly is what I said.
Okay.
Nearly.
So Uchenna is asking, do you read your book reviews, and how do you deal with negative reviews, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, okay. So people have, let me tell you, I love criticism because even though it will break you, it makes you stronger. So I've read stuff like, this is just soft porn. Somebody even said the book reads like a Nollywood film. I said, wow. Wow. I wasn't expecting that. That was nowhere I thought. I've read so many things. In fact, somebody said, oh, I bought this book because of the title. I'm not even going to open it, so I want to dash it. In my mind, I was like, will I be petty to say, can you please send it back to me so I can, like, I don't mind adding to my collection, but then I know that that's the one part they will screenshot and put out that the author said that. So I don't mind. I think I don't read all the reviews because again, I don't have all the time to do that. But the ones I see, the ones I'm tagged, that's what I'm telling you about this movie thing. People tag you with their full chest. They will like DM you. Listen, somebody actually wrote to me, this should not have been the title. I said, thank you very much. Like, I didn't respond, but I read, like, this should not have been the title. You could have done better than this. And I said, okay. I took that in stride and I said, okay, so I don't mind. Send me what you like. Even my next work, it doesn't do anything for me. I just take from it what is important. The rest of it, love and light, dear.
Honestly, Nigerians, we feel too entitled. And we don't even know boundaries. Like, how can you come and tell someone that this should not be the title of their creative work, their creativity? Hey, God, I beg you. Okay, someone is asking me if I am mad. Emeka, are you mad? I'm not in Lagos, so it's only Lagos when they are talking about. So I cannot say. I cannot say for myself. So let me check if we have more questions. So you guys can be dropping your questions in the comment section. Someone is saying Isaleko was their favorite story.
Oh, thank you.
That's so much. Yeah. Okay. Someone is saying, yeah, the book should be made into a movie. Yeah, God willing, inshallah. Amen. Anyway, actually reading this book was actually an experience, a whole experience. I can actually remember vividly where I was when I read it last year. I think I was in Abuja then. So it was like, these stories are not something that you actually they're like very unique in the way they stand. Like this is not something you see in books elsewhere, none of that. Anyway, so I think we have more questions. Let me check. Oh, okay. So guys, any more questions for Damilare before we round up? Let me also check if I have questions from my list that I've not talked about.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I wrote somewhere on my notes about the ending of Independence Day, but I think we've talked about it.
Yeah.
That ending was
a lot of people have a problem with that ending. I've gone for readings where older people have told me that story should not have even been included. And if it was included, I should not have ended it that way. And I'm like, first of all, I had to fight for this story to enter the book. I'm not going to fight to defend it. So I think people's opinions are their opinions. And it's important that you have your opinion when you read a work of art. And if you share it with me because you and I meet or whatever, it's okay. And I appreciate that. But I don't think it's my place to either say, don't think that way or defend it, because that's taken away from your experience too. You read this work of art and you made what you wanted out of it. I remember when I read, is it Da Vinci's Code?
Dan Brown.
Which book really left an impression on me the first time I read it? Okay, when I first read Things Fall Apart, no, was it the first book I read was because it's like a thing. So I think it was No Longer at Ease. I had so many questions. In fact, when I read Half of a Yellow Sun, I had so many questions about Half of a Yellow Sun, and I had my opinions about it, but I didn't think that. I shared it with myself, and if I saw Chimamanda after that, I would have probably said a couple of things. But I just think you are meant to make of it what you will, but don't put it on me as the author to defend or to tell you how to think. It's a work of art. Last, Burna Boy, everybody's taking from it what they want because we're all going to eat breakfast. So it's not, period. Like you cannot say, I won't eat breakfast. My dear, whether you are married or not, like, breakfast used to wait for people. It's what it is. So I'll make of it what you will from the song. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't know if people actually are like oh, it should not be included because they want to ignore the question, or they want to dodge the question of rape. So they're like, oh, let's not have that conversation. Let's just pretend this is not happening.
Let's look at things and say this. So I remember when I was talking about the entire collection with my publisher, I remember saying to them, listen, this is what it is. Half of the time they were in the room, they're like, oh, man. I'm like, guys, this is the reality. So it was good that they were willing to go there with me. But honestly, I think, why are we afraid to say beard gang? People, do you know how many people have reached out to me? They were like, that they never knew something like that existed. I'm like, listen, this is our reality. Again, I had an interview like last week where she was asking me, so what's my opinion? What am I saying? I said, okay, so let's be very clear. As a writer, I'm not here to teach anybody. I'm just here to hold up a mirror and say, this is what our society looks like. Make of it what you will. Don't ask me. I'm not a pastor.
Don't ask me to come teaching you how to do.
No, I'm just telling you, because that's almost like I'm judging you, and that's not my job. It's not my job to judge you. I'm not God. So, yeah. But I will tell you the story.
So someone is asking, what's your definition of older people?
Oh, I'm talking about 60, 70. The woman, like a couple of people, older people that have read the book, they've had, oh my God. Like, my mom was telling me the other day that one of my aunties saw her at a party. And she was like, oh yeah, so I read Dami's book. My mom's a pastor. So I read Dami's book. My mom said, what do you think? Mom said, well, yeah. She's like, wow. My mom's like, well, please encourage other people to read it. Thank you so much. Because I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I really don't know what it is. I guess maybe because this is Africa and there are a lot of things, and this is Nigeria, a lot of things we would rather not talk about, but we do.
Yeah.
Which is
very
okay.
Doesn't make sense. Okay, so next question is, how do you feel knowing that your book is a bestseller? Yes, this is actually a very interesting one. Your book is a national bestseller. Like and this has been happening like this from the months that it came out. It was like monthly bestseller, now like national bestseller. Congratulations on that. So how does that make you feel?
So I don't think that, like I said, I feel like I have nothing to do with this. This is literally God and the people that contributed to making the book this amazing. That's the editors. That's from the Chimek Hagariks to the Tahira Sagaya. These people made this. So God, I don't really feel any kind of, I was at a salon the other day. My sister was getting her makeup done. So I came in, and I just sat down by the corner. I said, good afternoon to everybody. And some people didn't answer me. Some people answered me. And then I think my sister just was hyped. I don't know why she was bothered, because I'm like, oh. And then she was like, oh, so Dami, that your book, you know, you shared the book, the girl that was doing makeup said, sorry, Dami, like Damilare Kuku, nearly all men Lagos are mad. And the mood changed. And I was like, but I came in and I greeted everybody before now. Why was it that when you now heard who I was, you decided to change? Yeah. So it's not done really anything for me, because I just think I'm a vessel that God has put on earth to do what I'm supposed to do, and all glory belongs to him. And I hope that I never disappoint him, where he now no longer feels comfortable to use me as a vessel. As long as I'm good with God, and as long as I continue to be a good person and a kind human being and do right by people at the best that I can, I'm great with whatever level of achievements I get to, as long as I stay with those things. Yeah, so, but thank you so much. And it's a great feeling for everybody involved in this book, I imagine.
Yeah. So, okay, someone is asking to the author, which of the stories did you have more fun writing?
Okay, so which story did I laugh throughout? Which I'm very upset that people don't even talk about so much. Is the Instagram baddie story, the wild ones.
Oh, Bukola talked about it before you came.
That story was cruise. You don't understand. It was vibes and inshallah. So I don't understand why people are not, like, the story has fan base, but I thought, because that story is chef's kiss. I laughed all through.
It was favorite.
You know, when you're writing something and you're just laughing, I was just laughing. Like, I was like, what is going on here? That story made me laugh all through. So I had so much fun writing that. That was a vibe. So, and I don't know why people are like, people talking about it, but I'm like, why are you guys not seeing that this is a story that I really, really like? So I don't know what's going on. People like it, but not as much as they like pop-up, not as much as they like Independence Day. I think it's Gen Z that can relate with that, the Instagram body story. But a lot of people, so I love that story. That story was fun. I had fun writing.
It was fun to read because when I finished it, I was like, you don't see what you don't cause for yourself now.
The story is so funny.
Thank you for doing this with us. Our time is almost up, but this was really, really fun. Like really, really fun. Thank you everyone for joining. We have less than 3 minutes here. So, Damilare, thank you for writing this book, and we're looking forward to more books. There's S there from you.
No pressure.
We'll get to do this again whenever the time comes.
Yes. Thank you.
Whenever the time comes, and we'll also be looking out for any updates in case they're making any of the stories into a movie or into a series.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys. So if we'll pick a book for next month, and I'll send an email for our book of next month. We'll also be offering a 5% discount for our next month's book. So thank you guys for joining. See you guys in the next book club.